Another vintage instrument that needs some love. This time it's a Rockland 5840A FFT Analyzer. This is a mid to late 1980s audio spectrum signal analyzer. There's very little info on it on the net. It's new enough to have a large LCD screen, but apparently too vintage to have a switchable 2030 to 110 power supply. This one is on American 115 line power supply. The condition was described as working when it arrived, but before plugging it in I decided to split open its power supply unit on the back, I'll show later, and check what it looks like. And there were some surprises. Also, as I said, there isn't any easily findable schematics or other documentation of this unit other than a few episodic mentions in research papers when it's been used in the early 90s. So since I do a bit of sound for work, we thought it's a nice thing to have anyway for like cost us maybe 50 euros as is supposedly working, but let's see, have a peek what's inside. So as you can see, the unit splits out into power supply back and which is supposedly interchangeable for European and American units. This is American unit, and the front with signal processing actual system part. We have two PCBs for power supply. The smaller one I suppose is some sort of regulation for lower voltage. Without schematics I'm not just, I can't just say what it is. If we take out this PCB, here, let me hope the camera focuses, you see the problem here. Some ancient, or should I say vintage, carbon resistor, which looks like it was 100 ohm maybe, hard to tell as well, it's so baked in. It's split in half, so that's something we'll need to replace and test. Right, so I replaced the resistor with a new 10 ohm precision resistor. That is a bit overkill here, but that's what I had at hand. And now we get a stable red light on this subassembly. I've been told that this subassembly is really meant to drive a lead acid battery that used to be here, but maybe not in my option of this device, or maybe it was just removed later by someone. Anyway, what I see now is that this here we have a 5.96 volt rail, and here we have a 7.5 volt. But turns out that this circuit actually, the one that powers the 7.5 volt rail, 6.5 still here, or 6 volt still here, but 7 volt is gone. So I hook the power supply back to the instrument. I check the Molex plug. There doesn't seem to be any wrong or dangerous levels on it, so I think it should be not too terrible idea to just power the thing up. Let me flip the power switch. Voila, nothing seemingly happens. Is it my power converter again? No, it's on. Let me see. Aha, I hear a beep when I press function buttons near the screen. So there is a contrast knob, and here we go. Oh, there's something coming up, but barely readable. mostly unusable, I would say. I'll try to give you a fix on the display. Not sure it's actually possible to see much on it, but let's give it a try. At a certain angle. Now the camera even fails to focus on anything here. Point is, I can see the menus. I think they're barely visible here. You see these faint lines on the screen. So the display is pretty short, and that's the max contrast value. If you go any lower, then it becomes pretty much unreadable. Is it better like that? No, it's not really better. You almost need a dark room to see anything. But point is, I see some trig function. There is a menu. So yeah, as you can see, the thing has contrast way out in the end. It has video out, which I'm not sure the kind of output is. Right, so my latest suspicion to the display trouble has been old burned out CCFD backlight. It's a sort of fluorescent bulb used with a light guide to give backlight in often in displays of that age. What we'll try to do is to pry open the front and see if it is indeed this type of light, see what kind of light is that, and try to find perhaps a replacement to it. Alright, the bezel gives a bit, and naturally it's entirely insufficient to take this thing apart. This is a bit more than this has to be done. Perhaps these screws on the sides have to be removed as well. Alright, so now I removed the 4 screws under the feet, and this bottom panel comes away. However, the upper case, as you can see here, is held by these screws. It's impossible to remove naturally from there, and it appears the front panel is also held with the screws from inside. So yeah, prying wouldn't have helped much. Come out, and it comes out. The bracket assembly fell off. The instrument has popped open. Let me show you around. Okay, big fat chip right down here. This guy is likely the CPU. We have 2 system ROMs, which have actually unglued these stickers. I should put them in place before I reassemble it. Some interesting modification held with a zip tie here. a few caps, some thin some commutation circuits or something like that. Could be relays. It's not quite looking like an attenuator board, and it feels like a different substrate from the rest of the system, so it looks like an afterthought on this one. There is another PCB down there underneath, another one under it as well. Could be possible that the thing has more than one processor board, probably one for UI controller and one for the sampling business end of the system. 10 megahertz crystal. There is no backplane, it's connected with cable. And as mentioned, this thing has very crusty duct tape around it, holding the acrylic panel behind it. And there is a bunch of sock chips on this board. They're quad packages actually. Interesting. Surface mount, right when it was becoming fashionable in the 80s. And the rest of the system is very much TTL. Here is another one of carbon resistors. This one hasn't burnt out, but it probably is some kind of power circuit here as well. So let's see if we can remove the display with least hassle. It's not instilling the confidence, the whole thing. Right, so here's where we are. I've removed the signal and control PCB from the top so that I could get access to the part that controls the electroluminescent backlight. There is some stuff that has really to be attended to, like this battery and this nickel cadmium, I guess, which is flat, doesn't hold any charge. This appears to be some DC-DC step up, and this is probably the inverter that drives the luminescent panel output, with this as being a power fetted drives, I guess. That connector, two outer pins are the output to the panel. So what I found is that after I start the device, there is nothing on it, but after some minutes suddenly it ramps up to 110 volt and 1.5 kilohertz, which sounds about right for EL panel backlight. So what I can show you, I guess, turn it on. It's powered. I'm not sure if you can read the screen here. Yeah, that probably gets in there. And let us see the outer pins. Yeah, 1.5 kilo and 0.1 kilovolt. Nothing really happens. The LCD is blank. The panel itself doesn't really light up